Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is the second part of this interesting conversation with Kwesi Addo. Alright, so there's been this Pan-African movement going on. I mean, the Africans in diaspora are getting conscious of themselves, that they are Africans.
Correct.
And that they need to connect with the African or with the motherland.
Correct.
Mostly they come, they hear the stories, and you see the change of attitude, the change of character. Some of them will like to cry, some of them will like to sorry curse because of the truth they've come to, understand. How do you think, as an African who has stayed there before and you still come back home, how do you think, what is the best way to receive Africans from the diaspora? The best way to receive them?
Well, the resounding reality is that we have all been miseducated. Whether it's the Africans from the diaspora coming or the Africans here who are still living a day-to-day miseducated, period. But for the Africans who are coming from the diaspora, there are probably about 4 to 5 different motivations. One, they accept that they are Africans, so they're coming to look for cultural and ethnic references to themselves.
Okay.
2, some of them are rejecting the education that they're being taught, so they come in for an educational alignment. 3, some of them are dissatisfied with their existence in the Western world, in that as much as the white people promote and campaign and market, America's the land of the free and this and that and whatever, they know that within their soul they're not truly free, because the skin color is a badge of torment, of trauma afforded them. And then 5, I think some people are looking for other places in the world that they could live in harmony. So for these reasons, at this stage in time where there's social media and different ways of getting the truth, or getting the idea that there's some other truth out there, it's motivating people to get up out of their couch, out of their homes, and out of their existence, and go and look for themselves, and to be able to tell a truthful narrative about their existence. But what I would like for Africans, Ghanaians, particularly those in Cape Coast, Elmina, Fanciful, to understand that not every person who is coming, every African American who is coming with their arms wide open like, hey, I'm home.
No.
Because the existence of Africans in the diaspora, African Americans, African Caribbeans, it has been centuries of traumatic Holocaust, abuse, terrifying terrorist existence that is deep, that is rooted, that is painful, that is a lot more than Ugu, Cape Coast, Ugu, Ghana could really even conceptualize. We can't sit in Cape Coast and conceptualize that there's certain neighborhoods in the world a black person cannot walk freely.
Wow. And there is.
Yeah, if you are in Ghana, fancy Butuma, he could go all the way to the north.
Yeah.
And nobody
anything.
They won't say, you know what I mean?
No.
You are free to go. Yeah, you could go to the northern region and ask for a cup of water, and somebody will give you a cup of water. But if you're living in New York City, if you're living in Brooklyn, and you wind up in some other city, even asking for a cup of water might endanger your life.
Wow. Just because of
your skin color.
Yeah.
You may be in an area, in a town where they haven't seen a black person in 10 years. You may just simply ask, and it's not that I'm saying it in a fantasy way.
Yeah, that is the
truth. It's the truth. There is systematic people who have, there was one story, young woman driving late at night and she got lost in a town, and she went to go knock on someone's door for assistance. The guy came out with a shotgun and shot her.
Just because she is colored, skin colored.
So our people who are coming home to Ghana, to Africa, are coming with pain. And for us who are here, we must be cognizant of not rushing. Hey! Because some people are not used to this.
They're not used to this. So that's I've had such experiences with.
Right.
They come and they are still, they still feel they are there.
Right. And what has to happen in our mind is that there's a transition that must take place in the person's soul in order for them to acknowledge they're at home.
New place, yeah.
The most spiritual thing that happens is that no matter who from the diaspora to home, Cape Coast, Elmina, Accra, whatever, this piece of land, this piece of Africa will speak to their soul louder than any word I can say to them. You can say welcome 5 times, but there's one moment in their experience where this piece of land says welcome home.
Them,
So we have to engage in a way, sometimes giving the person space to come to grips with the change and their own spiritual and soulful transition.
Right.
We have to allow them to open up their hearts and their soul in order to open up their arms and then be able to engage. Third, we also have to engage with them to understand what has been your experience as an African living somewhere that is abusive.
Yeah.
To speak.
Yeah.
Because what it is that they're not only speaking from their life experience, they're speaking from our ancestors that is attached to them over generation. They are bringing home all the souls of their forefathers who couldn't make it back here. That's heavy.
Very heavy.
That's heavy.
Very.
A lot of them are coming and saying, how the millions of people pulled from this land in such a way and in such a manner. Millions.
To the Caribbeans.
To the Caribbeans, to South America, to Europe, to France, to England, to Iran, to Saudi Arabia, to they spread us heavy. We also have to take into account. My name is Samuel Ado, EKOW Simpson. You have in your name your lineage, and your ties to this place.
Yeah.
They're coming as Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, Michael Jackson.
Matthew Johnson. Erica Williams.
Yeah, different names altogether. So
different names altogether.
Western names altogether.
And if they trace their names, it stops at slavery. Some white man owned a great ancestor and took advantage of them in some physical, sexual, abusive way, and then on top of it said, you cannot own your name. I'm going to give you a name.
So we were there. Our great ancestors were their properties, so they had to name their properties.
Correct.
And so
it's akin to, we're gonna say it in our language there. So be war aponchi. Na punching on the namkwema. But kade EKOW na punching as opposed to the goat having its own name.
Yeah. Very true.
So if the goat has children's children, forever in time, that's EKOW's goats.
Yeah. Even if they have their own name, they will still call them
EKOW's goats.
Yeah.
So think about 400 years of people being given a name that is not their ancestral birthright.
Assuming 400 years ago, they still kept their names.
Correct.
Then if they should come to Ghana, we would know, hey, you are called Mason, then let's go check out the Mason's lineage or the family.
Correct.
And we can easily find where your ancestors are.
Correct.
But now you are having Williams.
Right. So you take me, for instance, Samuel Kwesi Addo. Right? I have 3 children in the U.S. If they went on to have children, and their children went on to have children, and given that in the course of there are sons, the Addo name keeps moving.
Yeah.
5 generations later, if one of my children of the future wants to track, but Addo is from Ghana. Okay, Addo. The Addos primarily are from the Ekwapim, Ekropon, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they could,
That's
there was a president one time named Akufu Addo. Yeah. So maybe I'm connected to that. So let me go and see. And then my middle name is Kwesi. Okay, so that belongs to the Akan people who name their children based on the days of the week that they're born. So my great was born on Sunday, coming from the Akan people in Ghana.
So at least they can try trace.
Right. They may not know
exactly
the village, but even so, I would have left traces of my existence in order for them to follow the path back to the same village.
Right.
You see? Yeah. But our brothers and sisters in the diaspora were not afforded that. And so we have to be cognizant of that. The other thing that we need to be cognizant of is that there are Africans from the diaspora that have a question as to how did we, who are still in Ghana, who are still in these areas, play a role in the enslavement of what they would say their brothers and sisters, their mothers and fathers. And that's a legitimate question. That's a legitimate question for all of us to answer and delve into and look into. But I caution that research without looking for blame. And it's important that we acknowledge that, not looking for blame. Because we're filming this thing in the Fort Amsterdam. And if you look behind me, those bricks that make up this fort, and this fort was built in late 1500s, early 15, about 1520, 1530. These bricks and the way that these bricks are designed are not local to Ghana, Africa at all. So these bricks were imported by the Dutch and the Portuguese, brought on the same slave ships that carried Africans across the water. So the Europeans were already prepared coming into this continent, into these shores, to move millions of people away. Because these bricks are not coming on small little boats. You're not bringing millions and millions of bricks on small boats. So whatever hole and whatever cavity these bricks were brought in, those are the same cavities that took the Africans away. What I would urge on both sides is that there should be a level of understanding and patience to unravel the level of miseducation that has been afforded all of us. And that in doing so, the truth will come out. The truth will be evident. And for the Ghanaians who are here, who are living here, who have been here for hundreds of thousands of years, to be willing to engage in order to appreciate, respect, and then absorb the experiences of the people who are coming from the diaspora. Yeah. Because they themselves are coming for a revelation of their own. For they're coming, and the transition is going to happen naturally. And when the transition is taking place, some people will just need a moment to come to grips with the depth of what has taken place in history, the depth of their own pain, the depth of their anger, their depth of disappointment, their depth of knowing that they have become adults indoctrinated with decades of lies, and that is deep. So when they come out of the buses and the cars, jumping automatically to enter into their space. And we have to understand that in the diaspora, a person's space is their real estate. You know what I mean? Like, you are interfering in my real estate. And while they're not, some people will come out and tell, yo, listen, yo, give me some space. When they do this meeting, give me some space. So before we, offer to sell them trinkets or, whatever it is, we have to allow them to go through the experiences of coming to grips with all this reality. So that's what I would advise.
All right. Thank you very much, Kwesi Addo. Today we've had an interesting conversation, about Africans from the diaspora coming home and how we are going to welcome them. Should they be in a rush? Should we give them that space? Well, let's see what happens. So thank you very much for checking us out. Make sure you put up a comment and let's take it from there. Ciao. Peace.